All right, I'll open up the Finance Committee meeting for Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024. Call to order. And distributed the Council Finance Committee minutes of September 4th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Action items. First up is Matthew Kane. EMA has a couple of appropriations. I see that Matthew was here just a second ago, but this isn't
He
Matthew.
disappeared, so
He looks like
I'm the second best. Thank you all. Just real quick, basically, you're all aware we get tier 2 money from companies that have hazardous materials. That money is specifically earmarked, and simply what we do is every year is we decide where this money goes into those line items. We've spent a significant amount of money this year paying for training for first responders. So basically what we're asking is this money comes in, I want to put $1,000 into our communications line item, and also the remaining balance into the training and exercise to kind of replace what I have spent, basically. That's all I'm asking today.
So it's to appropriate $1,000 to the Emergency Response Fund line item for communications and $7,895.84 to the Emergency Response Fund for public education and training. Any questions?
So this is an appropriation, so it was advertised as such?
Yes.
Yes.
What kind of money you get into that fund?
Do what, I'm sorry?
How much money, approximately how much money you get each year in that fund?
Roughly, it depends because of the quantity threshold. So some years, companies or businesses report and then sometimes they don't. But you're talking roughly $8,000 to $9,000 a year.
So this is appropriating all the money that you received.
Correct.
And that grant runs from?
It's not a grant. This is the Tier 2 Hazardous Materials Reporting Program.
Okay.
Where businesses, when they meet a certain threshold, they have to report to the state, pay a fee, and then each county gets a portion of that back.
And does that typically come in the fall?
I'm sorry?
Is the money typically dispersed to the county from the
Yes.
state in the fall?
Yes.
Okay.
And John, are these the funds that are approval for expenditures comes from the LEPC?
Correct. And all of, when we spend this money, I have to get LEPC approval to spend it. So I go before our body that says, yes, you have permission to do this.
Knowing the amount of training that you've conducted in the county with the participation of the LEPC, I'll make the motion to approve those appropriations as you read, Tony.
If I may, real quick, we are providing, or we did provide a propane emergency class already, and we have an an electric vehicle alternative fuel class coming up in November, which no one has had around here. So we're providing cutting edge training for our first responders. So, and I apologize, Mr. Ritter. I will quiet now.
No, you're fine.
I'll second Barry's motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the appropriations into the two line items. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have several transfers from departments before we'll talk then after on the 2025 budget. First up is Mike Sharp from the Highway Department. Good morning, Mike.
Morning.
So this would be requesting to transfer $99,789.62 in local road and street from stone and gravel to local road and street bituminous. This is something we do every year. So we got $50,000 that we still got bills to pay in our bituminous. So we're just transferring the balance in local road and street stone to the bituminous. I'll probably be back to you in a month or two, and we'll transfer what we have left back to stone to finish out the year.
Very good. Any questions for Mike?
I move
Okay.
we approve the transfer.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the transfer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Approved. Brandon, we have Brendan Sanders from the Highway Engineer to talk to us about a transfer.
Okay, good morning.
Morning.
Earlier this year, we replaced the bridge deck on our Brick Church Road Bridge, and we went through the community crossings grant process on that. According to their guidance, we created a new fund for the community crossings grant. We transferred our 50% match into it. We received the community crossings 50%. With that project being closed out, we came in about $2,000 shy of the original contract amount. We do have an invoice from NDOT where we have to repay back their 50%, which should be paid out later today. So what I'm requesting today is to transfer from the state grant fund the remaining local match money back to the bridge fund, where it originally came from.
So it's a transfer of $1,044.33 in the bridge fund to line item, to the 160 Brick Church Road Bridge.
Correct.
Second.
Thank you, Max.
Everybody's just looking.
You had me on pins and needles. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
Brandon, is the Heine Road Bridge still up for next week?
Yes, next Wednesday, the Heine Road Bridge will go to letting, so we should be able to receive bids later that morning. Thank you.
Several people in my area are concerned about that.
I think the next one, I think Corey has another thing at the end of the agenda, so I think we'll wait and do those back to back. I think Randy, the sheriff is here. Doesn't look like Alan Moore, but I saw Randy was still here.
Yeah, that's right. I originally wasn't going to be able to make the meeting this morning, but my schedule changed, so thankfully I'm here. My request is to transfer $39,000. I should qualify that by saying we discussed this at the workshop about some medical care expenses for inmates and transferring this within my budget. The first transfer is $39,000 into 33110 medical dental testing, and I'll be taking $15,000 from unpaid deputy line item 11991 and $24,000 from unpaid salary deputy line item 1205.
Okay, I think we'll take all the
Do all of them.
Do all.
transfers together, please.
The next one would be transferring $50,000 into medical copay, line item 33440. And I'll be taking $5,000 from civilian correctional position. I don't,
Taking it to,
From.
yeah, I'll be taking it from that position, but I don't think all the correct numbers are there on that. That'd be, it's listed as 11221.
Yep. you've got there's a number
I'm missing one.
there
Yeah,
in the line item.
yeah.
Can we just move to make all these, because it's all written out in our agenda, and then,
I don't know, I think we probably, since it's televised, we probably need to.
okay.
We can correct that line item,
Okay.
right, Debbie? Okay.
Okay, the next would be $10,000 from unpaid deputy line item 12253. $10,000 from unpaid deputy line item 12254. And $15,000 from unpaid civilian corrections officer 12261. And $10,000 from unpaid deputy courthouse security, 12580. The next transfer would be $15,000 into maintenance service contracts, 33670. We'll be taking $5,000 from civilian corrections position, 12210. 5,000 from civilian correctional position 12270, and $5,000 from civilian correctional position 12301.
Okay, on that second one, the first line item for the 5,000, it's line item 12211.
Okay.
Would be the correct, it's on the transfer request sheet accurately, so.
So for clarification for the public in particular, these are all within your jail budget?
That's correct.
I would move we approve the transfers.
Second.
We have a motion, a second to approve. Any questions? Do you have a question, Kathy?
No, I was just gonna make the motion, but they're ahead of me.
She got beat.
I did.
Okay. We have a motion, a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sheriff. Brent Meadows,
That's gonna handle that one.
you're gonna handle it?
I guess I am, yeah, because he's not here today. We talked about them getting uniforms and things at our last meeting when he was here, so we just need to transfer $4,000 from 33300 autopsies to 22430 uniforms.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion, a second to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we have Health Department Director Dan Burke. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning, how are you?
Good.
Since my position change, I've been working with the auditor to correct closed grants. I have 5 closed grants that are in negative balance, and to bring those to a zero balance so we can close these grants out, I'm proposing that we take money from 9181, which is COVID reimbursement fund. That fund was created a few years back, and every time we administered a COVID vaccine, the state paid us an admin fee. So that's where the balance comes from.
Okay, do you want to keep on running down the list of transfers?
Absolutely.
We'll handle all of them at the same time.
So the first transfer is from 9181, line 59700, which I believe is the cash line, and that would be in a balance of $4,348.10, and we would like to move that to 9101 00970, and that's the emergency preparedness grant. The same balance, $4,348.10.
Okay, you want to do the other 4?
Yep. Next one's 9181 59700.
We'd like to transfer $8,067.41 to 9155, which is the immunization grant for a year, a balance of $67.41. Next one, 9181, 59,700, be $11,575.72 to 9145-00970, the HIV prevention grant. That's a balance of $11,575.72. 9181, 59700, transfer that $2,022.98 to 9170. That's the safety pin grant with the balance of, again, $2,022.98. And the last one, 9181, 59700, transfer $16,343.73 to 9152, which is the immunization grant. That was just changed from 9152 to 9252, going from calendar to fiscal or fiscal to calendar, I can't remember now. But that's a balance of $16,343.73. Should bring all of those funds to a zero balance, and then we can close them out.
I will make the motion that we make all these transfers per Dan's request.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the 5 transfers. Any other questions? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming over. Now we're gonna backtrack to Corey. He has 3 transfers.
You want to do the transfers first?
Thank you. Court services, is that the first one? Okay. First and foremost, I apologize. I think I was maybe supposed to be here at workshop and I failed to appear, so thanks for not putting a warrant out for my arrest. The request here is really to cover what has historically been known to council and that we've worked with council on shortfalls to items that the judges must provide to indigent counsel and for those that the court serve. And really, it's just kind of a cleanup. So before you is an outline of the 3 transfer requests. I'd be happy to go through them, but in essence, it's $30,000 from one line, or from 2 lines, $15,000 from each line for a total of $30,000 to transfer to criminal appeals and transcripts. $15,000 from legal assistant to medical testing, and then $8,000 from part-time to overtime. So happy to go into more detail with that if you need, but it's really kind of year-end cleanup for expenses that are far outside the control of the court.
I will make the motion that we make the transfers per Corey's request.
Second.
Motion is second to approve the 3 transfers. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And then I believe I had a last-minute email to Beth about a similar issue that Judge Cox is having in Superior 3, so if I could review that with you. Judge Cox in Superior Court 3 in his, I think it's pauper attorney fund, I have the line, it's 33040, has $8,000 remaining. He is going to, they estimate he will need up to an additional $50,000. And according to the court staff, he does not have money within his grant to be able to transfer that. So totally respect this as a last minute request, but Beth said I could come and at least make you aware of that today. So Judge Cox will need roughly $50,000 to get him through the rest of the year.
And where should that come from? I mean, is there any, or just general fund? Is that?
Yeah, we just need to fund it.
I mean, generally what we would do is reach out to council president, make you aware of it, and then you guys work the magic. So I don't know, but the judge in this instance did not feel like he had it in his budget.
I mean, we always promise to cover all the
Right.
extra
Right,
costs
if
that
we
come up,
have,
so.
if, there probably are some temporary openings that have occurred during the year, that we can take it from those line items. Would you be able to go through there and see if there's,
So
you know, if somebody
in
had
his budget?
been here for like, for like 2 months and,
Judge Cox has his own budget, so it's just Superior Court 3, and he does not have any vacancies.
okay.
So the other 3 judges have the
Okay.
court services budget, and that's what the transfers were made that I just requested. But in Judge Cox's, he does not have that.
So the opportunity of excess money is pretty limited.
Correct.
Have
Yeah.
to come out of contingency then.
Just have to- I'll move we fund the extra money for pauper attorneys from council contingency.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We do need that,
50,000?
50,000. We do need the paperwork, though.
Transfer.
Yeah.
From contingency.
From council contingency.
And do I give that to you? Or
Probably just, well, I need to sign it.
I'll get it up to you today if you'll
Okay.
be here. for it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll do it.
Just making sure we have the paperwork
Yes.
in line. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then my last one is some information on the CASA program.
Yeah, before you, landscape sheet that has some figures on it. I wouldn't normally be involved in a grant that comes from the state, because in this case, the grantee is the courts. In this case, you supplement this CASA budget with general fund money. One line item is in the Superior Court 3's budget, and the other part is in the commissioner's budget for the health insurance and for PERC. And you also have a statutory responsibility to appropriate the grant itself. So I wanted to give you some figures as you consider this presentation for Corey, and then he can fill in the blanks. So at the top of this page that I provided to you, Fund 1213, that's the CASA grant fund. As of September 30th, it had a it had a cash balance of $282,702. Based upon the expenditures from that fund for the first 9 months of this year, and then running that out to the end of the year for 12 months, the estimated balance at the end of the year will be about a little over $266,000. Because of remember, the CASA director then is exempt, we need to raise her salary up to at least that minimum salary, and then add whatever council considers. But the number that we're working with here is a proposed salary of $60,657. Your current number that you have in the Superior 3 line item for the CASA director is $46,541. In the CASA grant then that they are proposing to send to the state, $8,000 would go to the CASA director. So there's about a $6,000 shortfall to fund the proposed salary with the anticipated numbers that you have for income. And then the proposed budget for the CASA grant is $95,700, and that is office supplies, office support, part-time folks, et cetera, et cetera. It also includes FICA in that as well. The grant that will be submitted for 2025 is $37,300. This also includes an interlocal agreement that is signed by the commissioners from both Union County and Wayne County, because we supply the CASA program for Union County. So Union County pays us a small amount for that support. Their grant from the state for CASA is $2,000, and then their matching of that is $2,000. So we receive about $4,000 from Union County towards the CASA budget. So you add those potential incomes and take it from the proposed CASA budget, and that leaves about a $54,000 shortfall. So with that, then I'll let Corey explain to you how they're going to address that.
So thank you. So I was a bit of a late minute add to this conversation, but earlier this week met with Karen Bowen, who joins me today, the CASA director. Judge Cox could not make it due to court obligation, but also talked to Steve and Kim. So really the way that I view this is we have what would otherwise be considered three funding sources. We have the piece that pays the majority of Karen's salary from the Superior Court 3 budget. We did not take the FLSA overtime rule that I believe became effective this past July into account when that budget was turned in. So the 2025 budget that was submitted did not include that pay increase. Whether or not we need to figure any money for July 1 to the end of the year, I'm not sure about that. It would seem that maybe we would if that law became effective July 1. But we have the 1213 CASA grant fund, or CASA fund. In my world, I think of that much like I think of our probation fee fund. It's non-reverting. Indiana code is very specific as to what that money can be used for. Judge Cox has reviewed that code, and Karen and I met with him as well. Then we have the grant. Moving forward, my proposal would be we develop 3 funds. Right now, we currently have 2. We have county general, and we have the fund with the budget, with the grant commingled in there. I would propose we have county general for the biggest portion of Karen's salary, 1213 for the fund, and then an additional line for the grant. Make it easier for accounting, make it easier for spending tracking, and it helps keep those 2 balances clean, in my opinion, and that's what I've always been taught to do. So moving forward, I think that's one solution that can help address the problem. As far as the shortfall of the money, I don't know that I have the answer to that. I have Indiana code that specifically says what the fund, the balance, the 1213 can be used for. And it's pretty specific that it's for services or court-appointed advocates. It does not say salary, it does not say personnel. It's Judge Cox's interpretation that the salary should not be paid out of that fund because of the code. So I come with a little bit of a solution, but not a full solution. But I'm happy to do whatever it is or research the issue further.
Ron, do you have anything?
No, I'd have to research it. I mean, I've been contacted about it.
And then the other piece I didn't mention, Steve did mention the interlocal agreement between Union and Wayne County. It's my understanding that document hasn't been updated for 10 years or so. Judge Mark Cox will be meeting with Judge Matt Cox in Union County, and they already had that on the books, thankfully, to revisit that. So I've not seen that myself, so I can't speak to it, but I do know clearly that needs updated, and that is on both judges' radar.
Do you anticipate a change in the funding from that?
I can't speak to that. As Steve noted and is on the sheet, it's a $2,000 match.
Yeah, the state grant is $2,000, and Union County has to match that, so it's a total of $4,000 from Union County.
So does Wayne County's personnel spend very much time in the Union County system? Or do we know how much?
She's saying no.
I can answer.
Yeah, please.
If I had to average it, Union County's caseload is far less than Wayne County, and my caseload in Union County is 100% covered by volunteers, because of that drastic difference in the caseload. So I would say if I had to average it out over the year, personally, I might spend 2 hours, less than 2 hours a week. It is not a big meet right now. Of course, our caseloads fluctuate. I think one year we didn't have any open child in need of services cases in Union County, but still, keep managing the volunteers. So that's about that.
The other piece, and I think it has to be said, is this is the CASA program serves the most at-risk and disadvantaged youth in this community. And the majority of it is done through volunteer efforts, which is pretty amazing. So not diminishing the funding that the county puts forth, but roughly $46,000 to $55,000 to operate a program for children in need of services. And if you read the news, you know at the state level and locally, Wayne County DCS numbers were really, really high earlier this year. It's my understanding that they've reduced a little bit, but it's a very difficult and vulnerable group that Karen and her team serves.
Okay, at this point, do we want maybe Ron to research it and get back with us?
And I think another point, I'm not sure I totally understood what Corey was saying, but as you're aware, the Fair Labor Standards Act regs for continued exemption for the admin exceptions was increased effective July 1 this year, and there will be a second increase. It'll hit in January 1, I believe, of 2025. That does not require that a person's salary be increased. What it does is if they don't meet that requirement or that income threshold, then they will no longer be exempt and will have to be considered as non-exempt employees. So that's a nuance I want to make sure you understand. As the presentation, it sounded a little bit like it was deemed to be an automatic requirement that it be increased. That's not automatic.
And this employee is going to be above the threshold because she is a PAT 2. So with the new rate for 2025, she's already above that threshold, will be.
So she'll be at the rate that's in the.
She's going to be at the $60,657 for 2025 due to her classification and the new rate for 2025.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's so it won't.
That's a difference. I just didn't want you to think you had to give this increase to a person whose classification, jobs, whatever. We're not changing from December 31 to January 1st.
Any questions?
I'm a little confused, but is it that we need to change the amount in the budget? I was trying to find it and I couldn't find it quick enough. Is that part
My
of?
understanding is that is being done for 2025 or is being proposed, the change.
For the salary, I help with the salary ordinance, so it's reflected, and I can't speak to the budget.
As far as the budget process, and I expressed this to Kim and Steve, I mean it very respectfully, we didn't know about this. I didn't know about it. So as far as accounting for it in the 2025 budget, again, I'm sorry, but we didn't know about that.
We found it while we were completing the salary ordinance. We had a question, and then it opened up a can of worms, basically, that needs to be addressed.
So if we don't want to change the budget at this point, we would just need to make a note in January to add to that. Is that to that line item?
Has that budget been submitted?
No, right, Steve?
Well,
What?
the number you gave me, Bobby, that's the current placeholder in the Superior 3 budget.
But it's not a separate budget.
No, it's just a line item in Superior 3's budget.
Okay.
Yeah. That 46,000.
And that's the county match. I don't think we mentioned that, but the CASA grant requires a match, and that the county's portion of her salary is the match, I believe.
In addition to the insurance and PERF.
Steve, so what about Fund 1213 budget? That's what I do not believe has been presented, right?
Correct.
The code is very specific in that it says that services and attorney fees can be paid for that fund.
Well, but I think
But
what
her-
Kim's saying is the actual 1213 budget has never been submitted for council approval of appropriations.
That's my
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, it has not.
And it's not required to be.
Yes, it is.
I think it is, and that, in talking about this, I would rather align practice with what I've always done for, our state grants. And then I think separating it out into 3 distinct funding sources.
But doesn't doesn't that statute say that council shall appropriate that?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I agree that that should be done, but current practice up to this point, Karen's been director for 19 years. She says that hasn't been the case. So again, I don't know, but I would agree that a portion of that should come before you guys, just like all of our other fund-based grants, or our fund-based budgets do. You review my PUF budget, community transition budget, like things that the county holds, you guys review. But this one, you're correct, has not.
And wouldn't that fall under it's gotta be in Gateway? Wow,
The only ones that have to be in Gateway are the levy.
okay.
I think the only one for the gateway issue is the line item in Superior 3, where if you want to
Which
continue
is-
to fund the bulk for salary from there, you're about $6,000 short in that line item.
Mm-hmm.
So we're probably.
And so the question would be,
We need to increase that.
do we add the $6,143 to that line item? Or do we see if we could pay it out of Fund 1213?
Out of which one?
1213 fund.
He just said we can't. We can't pay salary.
That's just
That's what I said, he need to research it.
He just said we can't pay a salary. out
That's the
of
judge's
12.
interpretation of that
But you're,
code.
but you're currently paying $8,000 out of there now.
For salaries?
Out of the 1213 grant budget, you're currently paying $8,000 for salary.
Out of the grant. But not. That's why I'm saying we need to delineate these funds.
grant's different
Because
from-
the grant allows salary, the fund doesn't, but the funds have been commingled into 1213. So if we separate that out, then you could delineate what, in the grant document, the grant narrative and the grant budget summary list that salary, I believe is correct. So that $8,000 is truly paid from the grant, but all the money gets dropped into 1213, which I don't agree with.
Yeah, you're right.
But still, we're 6,000 whatever short in the general fund budget for next year, for this line, correct?
Correct.
So we need to change the budget amount.
Can we change that, Debbie, at this
61.40.
point?
In the adopted part, yeah. So where are we supposed to be?
It's Superior 3 10501, is that correct? That's the court magistrate, oh no, that's magistrate. Is that right? Which person is it? I got the budget, but I don't know which.
I have it actually.
Is there a line?
Cost director.
I thought they had a line.
Here you go, Debbie.
Right there.
Yeah, there
Oh, I
it is.
thought he said it was in Superior 3.
It is, but it's
Oh.
CASA director. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So what do you want to make it?
Oh, yeah, down there.
But what's that say, 60?
It's 46,541.
Oh, yeah, that's the one, we need to raise that by 61.43, right?
But technically, it will get raised when they give me the salary ordinance. Because I am planning on having the salaries in here before the 16th.
But this is a shortfall that we still have to add this to the budget.
It should be 52,684.
Yeah.
I thought we were adding 6,000.
We are, to 46,541.
Oh, I thought that, mine says 48, sorry.
Well, and is that 48 after? Is the 52,684, is that 2025 or is that before we've brought it to the midpoint?
I don't have any 25s in here.
Okay,
That's why I'm saying, when I get the salary ordinance, then I would have it accurate.
the salary ordinance won't, it's never done.
Their plan, I'm supposed to get the amounts in order to be able to have it in here for the adopted amounts.
You won't get it from the salary ordinance because that won't happen until probably November.
the budget sets the salary, and the salary ordinance allows that to be paid.
I'm not saying it will be adopted, but I'm under the impression, hopefully within the week, I will have the salary ordinance, and then we will work on getting it all in here so that we are very close with the salaries for the adopted budget on the 16th.
The salary ordinance has never occurred by the middle of October.
We did last year.
No, it was November
No.
1st.
It was
Yeah,
November.
the minutes of our meeting says the first meeting in November is when we approved the salary ordinance last year.
Maybe you approved it, but I was given the information last year and we had it in the adopted amounts. and
Given
that's
the
what-
information is totally different from being approved.
Pardon me?
Being given the information does not mean it was approved.
And that, yes, that's what I'm saying. They have till December 31st to actually approve it.
Right.
But they have it almost done right
Yes.
now.
They do.
And so those amounts are to be given to me within the next week, so I can add those in so that when we do the adopted budget to Gateway, they will be probably accurate, but yet there can still be changes in January 1 to fix what would be different.
Kim, maybe you're using terms, the salary, you're gonna be given the salary ordinance, and I don't think you're gonna be given the salary ordinance.
The salary ordinance right now is in draft form. We have changes to make even from today because of today's meeting. So typically on the larger departments, I'll use probation as an example, we'll do a cut and paste, we send it off to the departments for review, but it's a totally moving document as we grow closer to the end of the year. So it has not been approved by council.
I understand it has not been approved, but Mark has communicated with several people and given me the understanding that I will be having it in order to be able to put the amounts in Lau and Gateway prior to the 16th, so we will have more accurate amounts in our adopted amount. And I understand it technically
Well,
has.
do you also, just asking for all of us, for information purposes, that salary ordinance will not be rounded. The salary ordinance is a salary ordinance. It guides what payroll's going to pay starting January 1st. Your budget doesn't dictate that. So if you need to round up in Gateway, then you need to round up. But we're not going to do the salary ordinance.
I will take yours, and I understand that it won't be rounded, but we will round up in Lau and Gateway, because Gateway you can't have the cents in it. And in the budget part, we can't. Yeah, it has to be rounded.
Tony, back to our original question here, if I can just jump in here. So when I looked at my 2025 adopted is 46,541. So then if we add the 6143 should be 52,684 if I added that correctly. If we want her to change that.
I already did.
Okay.
By my math. It's the same as your math.
52,684, okay, thanks.
But your question is whether you can use the 8,000 in the CASA grant to close that gap and fully fund the director's salary. That's what you're asking?
8,000 you can pay from the grant because it's specifically, the grant funds $8,000. Is that correct, Karen? You get numbers confused. In your grant narrative, you request $8,000 to pay a portion of your salary.
Correct, the Union County portion of my salary is what.
You just can't.
1213, I understood, is the fund you're talking about. The judge interpreted that and you can't take salaries from it. I guess I'm confused.
Yeah, so we have county general that pays $46,000, we have the grant that pays $8,000, and then we have the fund, 1213, that can pay anything for other things. Currently, the grant dollars is put into 1213 and spent. So it's kind of like combining your checking and savings. What I'm proposing is we have a checking, that would be the grant, we develop the savings being 1213. because then it helps kind of sort out this issue of what can be paid from the grant and what can't be.
We need a separate line item for your grant money.
Where is the 6143 coming from?
That's the question,
County
I think.
General.
Yeah.
Because I would agree with the judge's interpretation of the statute as I read it.
We're just adding it to Superior Three's budget out of County General. Basically.
Tony,
But we do
sorry
need to create that.
interrupt, but if you're gonna increase the budget, since you've already had your budget hearing, don't you have to reduce a line item by that equivalent?
We will. Yep.
Taking out Corey's budget.
Which commissioner line?
So good with his budget.
There he is.
I think I just need to book a standing appointment with y'all. If I need to come back, if I need to come back in January, if you need to move it from one line, I mean, I'll speak for the judge. I mean, obviously, we can sort all that out. I'd be happy to come back and do that. The understanding, I know what I'm asking for.
Yeah, I think we can, we just need to pick a line item and reduce it now.
Reduce it.
I mean, in the county general line, as you probably can see, he's got some, I mean, they're different from the thousands to the 2000s, but he's got a variety of places. You need to sort of rob it for a minute and then move it back.
Maybe could you scroll up, please? Or down, I'm sorry, wrong direction. Just so we're in that budget. That's. Just take it out of Palmer Attorney, the 200,000 for now.
I was thinking he had a professional contractual line too, maybe down.
200. Yeah, right there.
No, there's not much in there, sorry.
Take it out of criminal appeals, he's got 10,000 there, then we can just replace it.
Actually, can you go up, Debbie? There, that's good. That part-time wouldn't even help, wouldn't cover it.
Where was the 200,000? I can see that now.
Contractual professional.
How about part of it out of the reference books, since the auditor gets all these reference books also?
Wherever we take it from, we're gonna end up probably have to replace it, so I just recommend taking out that 200,000 out of the pauper attorney.
So reduce that.
6143.
To what?
Well, I'll let you.
Taking 6143. 193, 857.
And that,
193, 857.
that Corey, that just
You say 193?
193.
make sure the budget is
857.
balanced to what we,
And then will I need to request to come before you in January just to clean that up or wait a little bit? I guess kind of.
just wait and see. I mean, the 193 may be enough.
Oh, I see. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, no, yeah, that's fine. And
And that way, we don't have to worry about doing
I
anything.
don't
in
necessarily have to
January.
come back unless we need it, just like I did earlier, because that's the line we needed.
Yeah.
But
All right.
what we do need to do is create that a line item for your grant so that next year those are in 3 places instead of just in the.
And if I could, what I would propose, because ordinarily what we do with grants, and Karen is actually working on the grant currently, so it's not even written or approved, but when she gets that approval back in line with what we currently do, we just bring that budget sheet up with a copy of the grant narrative, we turn it in, and then those are the ones that go through state budget agency for vetting, which is why they don't have to come through you all. And then 1213 would just remain like it is, because
Yeah.
that's the fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for getting that straightened out.
Thank you. Sorry for the confusion.
Thanks, Corey.
Corey, I have a sheet. I had a blank.
Okay.
There you go.
So I just need to get those lines.
There you go.
Did you make one up, Debbie?
Yeah.
Debbie already did one for us.
That's okay.
No,
Oh,
because you
okay.
have the line items on there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I can
probably,
just sign that one.
boy, that's good. It would have taken me a minute to get all that.
Corey, you're on a roll. You need anything else today?
You guys, I need to go get some coffee.
I don't have much left.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for all your work.
Jeff has to sign that one.
Jeff?
Sorry to come back on this, but in talking with the sheriff, if he is successful in that auction, there would need to be a check cut this week. And the way we left it, I'm not sure that would be able to happen. So I guess my question would be, would we have your approval to write that initial check for purchase if in fact his bid is accepted out of your one-time budget, and then we can backfill it with money from other sources as we work it out.
So that's fine.
Just agreed to the concept, I don't think that's any issue.
I think we would need a motion to,
I'll move that we pay it out of our one-time money until transfers are made to cover
Second.
other portions.
I'm sorry, we have a motion in a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
thank you very much.
They don't take MasterCard.
Don't believe that we've looked at WUR budget. And Ron, does that need to also have a public hearing?
We don't advertise in the paper anymore, they're on gateways. I'm confident that it was advertised.
It was advertised with our budget too, though, yeah.
Barry or Jeff, do you want to talk about WUR budget?
No, I want the president to talk about it.
Okay,
So this is the,
knew you both were involved in it, so.
yeah, I was the recipient of what Jeff sent me because I assigned it to him. So this, before you was the proposed budget for WR that the WR board approved a month or so ago, understanding that the revenue for this budget is not from the general fund, but these are tipping fees that are paid at the landfill. That when you take your trash to the landfill, there's a fee on your charge that you pay, and through an interlocal agreement that Wayne County has with the sanitary district, those monies are paid to the county. This budget has been developed off of the contributions from the tipping fees and also our joint work with Water and Soil and Union County.
Just one change to what you said, that those dollars for the tipping fees are paid to WUR.
Correct.
Which is essentially a separate entity.
Thank you.
And just to keep you abreast of things, we continue to work with Union County at the commissioner level to see how we want to proceed with this. There have been a number of discussions. There have been some reviews of statute and where we're at and where we need to go. So there's still quite a few options on the table that we'll be talking about more in the next month or two. But we will make a decision by the end of the year. I think we have to, so that this budget that you see would be the maximum that we would conceivably spend. And we wanted that to be the starting point for the budget, and we'll make adjustments from there.
So that's projected $120,000 in tipping fees. The sanitary district would pay 30% of the salary, which would be $24,817 for a total revenue of $144,817. The expenses are projected at $173,000, so I assume that $30,000 or so is coming out of your cash balance.
Which we have over 100,000 in reserves, so it's doable. We also, again, depending on how we work out the program going forward. There would be some participation from WUR if we stay with that model, and as well as the soil and water, from soil and water, Wayne County Soil and Water, and then Union County Soil and Water would also put in a small amount, 10% of the salaries. Again, if we stay with that model, which is still under discussion.
And it's important to note that the decision as to what that model will look like is at the commissioner level in both Wayne and Union County, not the WR board.
Correct.
Are there any questions about it? They have a sufficient cash balance for this budget to work. At this point, if there aren't any questions, can I have a motion to open a public hearing on the WUR budget?
So moved.
Second.
Motion a second to open the hearing, public hearing on the WUR budget proposal. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak in favor of it?
I'll speak in favor of it, Your Honor. Again, we're contemplating transitions, but this current budget that has been approved by the board is what we would anticipate to be the maximum budget that would possibly come out of these discussions. It may well be less. There could be significant changes to our process and our program. There may be only very minor changes. We're still working through those issues, but this budget is fundable and is sufficient for our needs for 2025.
Thank you.
So this budget is continuing the personnel within that organization as it is now?
This budget has line items for all current personnel.
And that 30% of salary from the sanitary, is that for all of those salaries?
Correct.
Okay, is there anyone else?
Richmond Sanitary and Wayne County Soil and Water contribute 30%, as well as WR contributes 30% of the salary of the educator coordinator. Union County contributes 10% of that salary. Just for clarification.
So why is the 10% from Union County Soil and Water included here?
Is that a question for the
Yeah.
president?
Well, either the president or.
I'll defer to the vice
Prepared this
president
budget.
who worked on the budget. I think this budget was developed to allow us to move forward, but understanding that the commissioners in both counties are in discussions about what the new interlocal agreement will look like, which may or may not include all the entities that are in it today.
Correct.
And their financial contributions. So if the structure of WR changes under the agreement between commissioners, we have the ability to amend this budget to meet those needs as the elements are in that interlocal.
And that probably won't be done by workshop, but as of January 1, you can make amendments to the budget at that time.
Yes.
So this keeps us on our timeline of being able to comply with the state and having it in Gateway and having the ability to approve it 2 weeks from today. Are there others in the audience that would like to speak in favor of it? Anyone wishing to speak against it? If not,
We would close the hearing.
a motion by Max, second by Barry to close the hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing is closed. Taking a look at this, so we're in good shape on that. Anything that we need to talk about as far as the budget?
We did agree that we were keeping the transport, new requested position in the jail budget for the transport, by reducing the overtime.
We have done
We
that,
did that
correct?
last time, yeah.
And we're keeping the highway department's third mechanic in there as a new position. I don't think we discussed that specifically, but
We thought we did. It's in, yeah, it's in there,
it's
right?
still in there, so we intend to. I just wanted to verify.
Yeah, I
that
think
it's
we did.
Still happening, okay.
I've got a bullet point here. Corey's gone, but in the public defender, we may have discussed contractual professional from 164.5 to 249.5. Did we take care of that? I just didn't check it off. Line item 33,200, public defender.
Which line item?
33,200. Okay, it's at 249.5, so I think we have taken care of that. Anything else?
Well, Mark started to ask you some questions that we
Yes.
put off to now, so.
Okay, do you have that sheet?
Yeah.
I've got it in here, but maybe. Okay, then. Do we make the non-county general placeholders 0? The answer was yes, and I think we talked about that.
This is assuming I add the correct salaries amounts. So see, I add the correct salary amounts, and then I take out the placeholder because that adjusted.
Okay,
That's where all these questions have come from, because last year we did have.
we have to make sure that it's
we had
not
the salaries in
higher
it.
than the placeholders.
We added 10% to the salary, FICA, PERF, and health insurance, if there was some. I took the total of that.
To each of those.
times 10%, and that's the amount I put in the placeholder.
Okay,
So
we just need to make sure that
The placeholder
The
should be 0.
placeholder's plenty.
they should be, but we just need to make sure we're not higher, but I don't see how we would be higher.
So what I'm basically saying is, I get what they've come up with for the salaries, I add those in, then I take out the placeholder on the non-county general ones, and then we also want to know, because you added 3 million placeholder for the county general, am I supposed to take that 3 million out also?
It's the same thing.
Yeah,
Equal to,
well, did we put that in
I think it was
the
in
same
this
place?
It's in council.
I
Can
think
you
it was in
bring up the
miscellaneous.
council budget,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we put it in there.
please?
It was in the council budget.
Right there, it's in miscellaneous. Because it was originally 543,604, and then we just added 3
Yeah.
million to it. So do I have your permission to take that 3 million out once I add all of the salaries? Okay. And then something that we didn't do last year that I'm questioning, because salaries go up, FICA and Social Security amount changes. Am I supposed to take out all of those salaries per budget and then calculate what the FICA and the Social Security truly is?
Yes,
We
but
never
that's
did
in
that
the,
other, but I'm thinking we need to.
we calculated what that different, or what that amount was gonna be. We knew what the, Kim had given us the,
So that's already been done? In all of them, you're saying?
no,
It's all in the commissioner's
It's in the
budget.
commissioner's budget.
it's in the commissioner's budget. So whatever that, additional amount is would
So
need to
all
be
the
added.
others I need to calculate?
Yep.
Okay.
It was a part of the placeholder here, so it actually needs to be calculated and included.
Tony, on the 3 million, wouldn't we just take out exactly what she's putting in for raises and so forth? So there might be something left rather than just totally make that zero? Is it surely
Well,
does?
we're not making it totally zero, because
Oh,
there's a,
It was 540.
yeah.
Well, I'm talking about the 3 million line. I thought you were gonna put that at zero.
Well, if you
Not
look at
zero.
it, it's
Just take the
3,543,604. I'll leave the 543,604 in there and just take out the 3 million
Right,
that
3 million.
we added.
Okay, because mine only shows the 3 million, so, okay, sorry.
No, if yours only shows 3 million, I understand what your question was.
So in the non-county general ones, then am I also supposed to adjust health insurance?
I think
There's no increase for health insurance for
Yeah.
next year.
For the employee, but isn't there for the county?
no.
Okay.
I'm getting back to your question. I can't remember exactly what you said, Debbie, but it's not written down here. In question 3, you're talking about FICA and Social Security, but you don't say anything about PERF.
Oh, I'll add perf.
The same thing would
Yeah.
need to be added for PERF.
Okay, good catch.
I think that answers
Yeah, I appreciate that, thank you.
the question there.
There was, and the auditor's not here to speak to this, but he had asked the question prior about insurance in non-general fund accounts.
Yeah, it's not on this. I thought there were 5 items on here.
So-
and
No, I
only
didn't,
4.
I typed this up and no, I didn't have a fifth one, but yeah,
So-
you really need to know that.
That we have historically, out of those grants and those non-reverting funds, those benefits are paid out of those funds in non-general fund. And his ask was to move all of that to general fund, and it's not that clean. For example, the interlocal that we hold with the city of Richmond for the 911 center, there is specific language in that interlocal agreement that stipulates that those benefits will be paid out of county general for those particular employees that are shared in salaries. So because we have those nuances and protecting the general fund, I think we continue paying those benefits from those grants and those non-reverting dedicated funds as we always have.
Right.
And not move them to general fund.
Right.
Not, it doesn't require any action by
No.
council, I just don't think that we make any changes to that.
Can you tell us?
We are paying it from county
general.
general and then. they
Right, I
are
misspoke.
reimbursed.
Yeah.
Correct. He wanted, so it's the exact opposite of what I said.
Yes.
It's the bottom
That's what
line.
I was thinking. I'm like, yeah. They're all paid out of county
Yes.
general.
Yeah.
But we do still need to build those
The county
departments
general is
for
refunded.
some of the
Yes.
ones, they still need to.
But you already said not the clerk, clerk perpetuation, because they couldn't afford it, correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I-
Basically, any of the non-county general funds that have the capability for us to use.
What about probation? Because I know it really is a hardship on them. Because like I've shared before, this just started like 3 years ago and it was a huge impact on their budget. and they were scrambling to try to figure out how they could pay for it. And the fund, I can't think of it, project income. The project income fund is the money that comes in is those who have ankle bracelets, and those people don't always pay their stuff, and I know that that fund is very limited. And so I'm just asking, would that be in one of those that you might take consideration and not charge them, but then if there's others that have plenty of money, be okay? Or am I still supposed to go ahead and charge them and they hope they can come up with the money?
Well, if they can't, then we could do a transfer, you know, at a later point, but, what we're trying to do is preserve the county general as much as we can. I mean, Kathy did a big task at looking at all the non-county general funds last spring and summer, and probably still is, to, you know, determine, you know, is there enough funding there or not. But, you know, a lot of the funds, there's only so much that can be spent, and that is something that can be spent for. Otherwise, the fund would just continue to accumulate, you know, dollars with increasing cash balance each year with not enough, you know, being spent out of it. So,
From my perspective, if it's a problem of down there of paying that, then Corey needs to come and talk to us about that. We shouldn't just do it because we think he's got a problem.
Right.
And the grants that specifically pay a salary, it's always added into that grant, so it should be coming from that in other departments.
Exactly.
yeah, if somebody comes to us with a grant, we want them to fund
The whole
that person
thing.
entirely. Or else the grant might not be approved.
I understand, but project income is not a grant. It is only funded by those
Yeah.
commissioners that are on.
I'm just talking about the ones that do any grant that has an employee, we always make them included. Yeah.
And that has been done here in 2024.
So let me ask the question, if that's not a grant, why are we taking the money from there for this? Did they give us permission to do that? To say, okay, go ahead and take it out of there?
3-ish years ago, all of a sudden, the auditor's office decided, probably 4 years ago, decided this is what we're gonna do. When Josie was here, because I was questioning, because I was doing the bookkeeping, I said, why do we have a placeholder here? And she said auditor's office told her, keep a placeholder here just in case we ever decide we need to take in charge from you. And about 4 years ago, all of a sudden they started to, there was no asking permission or anything, and it really, really was hard on the budget. And so basically what they did then, when I came on board, I'm going, hey, this isn't being done. How are we to do it? Nobody knew how they came up with it. Amy and I worked with Amy on calculating. And so basically any employee that was paid somewhere other than county general, Amy and I made a spreadsheet and by whether they were plan A or B, calculated how much needed to be reimbursed. Just because nobody told us how to do it, we attempted to try to duplicate what had been done.
The auditor didn't do that by themselves. It was council.
I have no idea. I have no idea what started it. And we had no way of knowing how it was calculated, you know, who was responsible for it. But I was proactive to try to figure it out. And so Amy and I worked together, like I just explained, and that's what we've been trying to do. And then I guess we're questioning, are we doing it right? Is that what you want?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it was discussed back then. I can't tell you
I have no idea.
Debbie,
I have no idea how or
4
what.
years ago, exactly what the discussion was, but I'm sure the minutes would have it. Any other questions or any other concerns with the budget? Okay, it will effectively be, because it's in Gateway, effectively be advertised, the 12th?
No, it's already been advertised.
Well, advertised, but,
The 16th, we're planning on having it adopted.
right,
Is that agreed?
right. Because it has to be
Yeah.
adopted by November.
So I will get the salary stuff in, calculate the FICA and all that stuff, and then bring the signature paper to you on the 16th.
Yeah, essentially, HR is giving you the numbers, but it's not
I know
the
it's,
salary ordinance.
it's not finalized, but at least it gets the numbers, fairly accurate, and then if anything needs to be changed, it can be adjusted in January.
Okay, if there aren't any other questions, I just want to commend the department heads, elected officials, and everybody, as well as the rest of council, at helping to put this budget together. I hear from a lot of other public entities that it appears we do an awful lot to come up with a budget, and put a lot more work into it than a lot of other entities. I'd like to say that's why I think that, and it's not just this year, the past few years, for a number of years. That's the position that commissioners and council have taken. And I think it's why Wayne County is as fiscally sound. And I think the state agrees. We are very fiscally sound in the government as far as the budget concerns are. And I commend council again this year for all the time and effort that they put into this to make this budget successful. So if there's not anything else, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
Second. Motion a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Is it 9:30?